The signal that changed everything. The stars above Outpost 47 blinked quietly, but inside the command deck, alarm screamed red. Captain Ryland stood motionless, eyes fixed on the holographic screen. The numbers were clear: 100,000 enemy warriors. An entire invasion force. No warning. No diplomacy. Only a broadcast: we are coming. Submit or be destroyed. The outpost had no fleet. No reinforcements. Only one ship was near enough. Just one. The TNS Valiant. An old human warship. Scarred, outdated, and crewed by only a few. But it was still Terran-built, one of the last Deathworld-class destroyers. Designed not for patrol, but for extinction-level war. The commander of the outpost, an alien named Dek, stared at the screen. His voice shook as he turned to his staff. Send a message to Earth. Tell them we are lost. But Earth had already responded. Before the message was sent, the Valiant had moved. On the dark side of a nearby moon, the human warship awoke. Its lights flickered like the breath of something ancient. Engines hummed like thunder in a cave. Inside, it wasn't just machines. It was a weapon, a ghost from humanity's forgotten wars. The pilot, a quiet man named Bram, didn't ask questions. He didn't call for backup. He only looked at the incoming data and whispered, "They really sent 100,000. He smiled. The enemy fleet arrived in perfect formation. Gigantic carriers. Swarms of assault ships. 1,000 banners of conquest. They saw the human ship. Small. Silent. They laughed. The leader of the enemy fleet broadcast a final warning: leave or die. Bram didn't respond. He activated the core. From the outpost, Dek and his staff watched helplessly. The alien tech couldn't keep up with human systems, but one thing was clear: the warship was moving straight at the fleet. Alone, no way, whispered Dek. That ship can't take on all of them. But the Valiant wasn't just a ship. It was a message from Earth. A message written in fire. As the first enemy missiles launched, the Valiant shimmered, its stealth shields dropping. Its weapons spun online. Hidden cannons emerged from the hull. One by one, they locked on targets, and then it began. The sky lit up like a second sun. The enemy fleet had never seen a ship like the Valiant before. To them, it looked small, old, even. They expected it to die in the first volley, but when the first wave of missiles flew toward it, the Valiant didn't dodge. It answered. A single pulse from its forward cannon tore through space. One enemy cruiser vanished instantly, shattered into a million glowing pieces. No warning. No mercy, the enemy commander screamed into his comms. All ships. Fire everything. They did. Missiles, beams, plasma bolts, every kind of weapon in the galaxy rained down on the human warship, and still, it moved forward. Inside the Valiant, Bram sat calm. He didn't speak. The ship's AI, old but loyal, responded faster than any living pilot could. It rotated shields, fired interceptors, and returned fire all at once. The ship wasn't a machine. It was alive, with fury. Bram touched one control pad and said, "Show them the teeth." Panels on the hull slid open. The Valiant released a wall of energy. Wide, bright, and terrible. Half a dozen enemy frigates were gone in seconds, melted by raw power. Back at the outpost, Dek and his team were silent. What they saw on the screen made no sense. "That ship is doing this alone," one officer whispered. Dek nodded slowly. "That's a Terran warship. From their Deathworld fleet." "But that fleet was retired 100 years ago," someone else said. Dek replied, voice low, "They were retired because no one wanted to see them used again. Now, everyone would." The enemy fleet tried to adapt. They spread out. Launched fighter drones. Called in backup from their carrier groups, but the Valiant was faster than expected. It slid between battle lines, shields glowing red from the heat of near hits. For every shot that missed, the Valiant made 10 that landed. It wasn't just shooting. It was hunting. The enemy sent boarding parties. Big mistake. The first boarding ship docked. Their warriors stormed the corridor, expecting soft targets. What they found were auto turrets and chemical fog, and silence. They never even reached the engine room. Bram locked the ship's systems and turned toward the central display. A map of the enemy fleet filled the screen, still massive. Still advancing, but now, gaps were forming, spaces where warships had once been. He took a breath. "Let's clean the rest." The Valiant dived. .3 battleships tried to stop it head-on. They fired in unison, but their weapons bounced off the Valiant's magnetic shielding. One countershot from its ventral cannon sliced all three clean in half. Across the battlefield, dread filled the alien commanders. The enemy leader shouted orders, but his fleet was panicking. They had brought numbers. Strength. Pride, but not fearlessness, not like the humans. Soon, even the bravest of the enemy ships began retreating. Pulling back. Reorganizing, but it was too late. The Valiant didn't allow survivors. Inside the warship, systems glowed hot. Energy was low. Armor was scratched, but morale unbreakable. Bram stared at the final cluster of ships, pressed one final button, and whispered, "Good night." The Valiant fired its last salvo. From orbit, it looked like a supernova. From the outpost, it looked like hope. Dake stepped forward and whispered what everyone was thinking. One Terran ship did this. No. One answered, because no one needed to. Smoke drifted in orbit. What was once a mighty fleet, 100,000 warriors, hundreds of warships, was now wreckage floating in silence. The Valiant hovered among the ruins like a ghost. Silent. Waiting. Inside, Bram sat back, breathing slowly. His eyes were tired, but his hand stayed steady. He had done what no one thought possible, and he wasn't finished. YET.AT Outpost 47. Dake stared at the holoscreen in stunned silence. Around him, the crew spoke in whispers. That ship, it's still standing. It didn't even call for help. Is that what humans really are? Dake swallowed hard. No. That's what they were. Long ago. Before peace. Before the Council told them to stand down. He looked again at the screen, at the Valiant, still burning faintly in space. They kept one ship alive, he murmured. Just one. In case they ever needed to remind the galaxy. And now the reminder had arrived. Across the galaxy, emergency signals were flying. The news spread like wildfire. A single human ship had destroyed an army. The council panicked. Fleets were recalled. Leaders argued. Some screamed that Earth must be punished. Others warned, do not provoke the Deathwelders. Old recordings of the Terran Wars resurfaced. Bloody conflicts most believed were myths, but now the myth had a name. Again, Valiant, deep in council space, a secret meeting was called. A shadowed figure leaned forward. What was that ship doing so close to the outpost? Another replied, old patrol route. Decommissioned decades ago. Earth never officially removed it. Why not? Because humans don't forget. Meanwhile, Bram walked the dark corridors of the Valiant. He passed empty stations, once manned by dozens of crew. Now, most were silent, run by the ship's AI and automatic systems. He had been alone for a long time, too long, but he knew the cost of keeping the ship alive. You still awake? He said aloud. The AI's voice responded gently. Always. Systems holding at 67%. Damage minimal. Good, he whispered. We may not be done. Suddenly, a ping echoed through the deck. The Valiant sensors had picked up a new signal, unknown origin. Encrypted. Nearby, Bram frowned. Another fleet? No, the AI replied. A survivor. Small vessel. No weapons. Bram raised an eyebrow. From the enemy side? Negative, the AI responded. Life signs, too. One injured. One human. Bram's heart skipped. Human. The AI confirmed. It appears so. Without hesitation, the Valiant changed course. It moved through the wreckage, dodging floating metal and bodies frozen in space. Eventually, the small pod came into view. It was spinning slowly, its power almost gone. Bram activated the docking arm and pulled it into the bay. The moment the pod opened, he saw her. A young woman, barely conscious, blood on her temple. Her eyes fluttered open. She looked at Bram and whispered, "You came." He caught her before she fell. "Who are you?" he asked. Her voice was weak but clear. "Leah. Envoy from Earth." Back in the command deck, the AI scanned her identity. "She's real," it confirmed. And she was sent on a secret mission. Bram laid her down gently in the medbay and stared at the screen. What was she doing in the middle of that invasion? I don't know, the AI replied. But if Earth sent her, they knew something. Bram tightened his gloves. Then it's time we found out. Outside the ship, space was quiet again, but now, the war was no longer just about survival. The ghost of the Death World had returned and Earth was watching. Leah lay quietly in the Valiant's medbay, surrounded by soft lights and machines humming gently. Her body was bruised, her clothes torn, but her mind was awake and racing. Bram stood nearby, arms crossed. He hadn't asked many questions yet, but his eyes said enough. He was waiting for answers. The moment she opened her eyes again, he spoke. "Who sent you, Leah?" She looked at him. "Earth. The High Command. They knew something was coming." Bram frowned. "The fleet?" "No. Worse," she said, her voice shaking. "They weren't just an invasion force. They were hunting for something." He stepped closer. "What?" She took a breath. "You." The command deck dimmed as the Valiant's AI listened carefully. Leah explained it all, how she had been sent quietly to Outpost 47, carrying sensitive data and orders. Her mission was never meant to be known, but then something went wrong. The enemy knew her route, knew her mission. They were ready, she whispered. They wanted to erase the last Terran warship before it could be used. Bram's face hardened. "So Earth expected this?" She nodded. "Earth knew someone had leaked the Valiant's location. The Council feared you. But someone inside the Council feared you more." Bram's fists clenched. He looked at the AI. "Trace the source of the signal that found Leah's ship." "Already searching," the AI said. "Encryption is heavy. But I'll find it." Meanwhile, in deep space, another meeting was taking place. A group of alien commanders spoke through secure channels. Their voices were cold. "We failed," one of them said. "The Terran warship lives." Another replied, "One ship destroyed 100,000 of our warriors. One man. One machine. This cannot be reported. We would be laughed at. No. We must finish what we started. Before the rest of the galaxy knows." "Silence, then. Send the assassins. Send the silence ships. And make sure Earth sees nothing." On board the Valiant, Bram stood with Leah in the central core. She held a small drive in her hand, glowing faintly blue. "This is why they chased me," she said. "This is what they were trying to stop." Bram plugged the drive into the ship's secure slot. Holograms filled the room, files, names, maps, all showing something terrifying. Secret movements. Hidden fleets. Bases in deep space. All unknown to the Council. A shadow force was rising, and they weren't planning a war. They were planning to erase humanity completely. Bram looked at the files, then turned to Leah. "You were carrying proof." "Yes," she said. "And now you're the only one who can do anything about it." He turned back toward the main display. The ship's hull groaned slightly as it adjusted course. "Then we're not going back to Earth." Leah blinked. "What?" "We are going after them." The AI broke in. "Signal found. Tracing back to a Council relay station, Sector Delta 94. Shielded. Not registered." Bram nodded. "Set course." Leah stared at him. "You're going to fight the Council?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, "If they want to silence Earth, I'll make sure the stars hear us first." As the Valiant prepared to jump, Derek at Outpost 47 tried once again to contact Earth. No answer. "No response. We need to warn them," he said. "That ship, it saved us. But now it's gone." He looked at the stars and whispered, "Where are you going, Terran Ghost?" But the Valiant was already gone, vanishing into hyperspace. Not running, but hunting. The Valiant exited hyperspace in a quiet region of space known as Sector Delta 94. There were no planets nearby. No traffic. Just silence and a single dark station floating near a dead star. It had no visible markings, no lights. But the AI confirmed it. "That's the source of the signal." Bram narrowed his eyes. "A hidden Council relay. Off record. Why would they need this?" Leah stepped forward. "Because they are hiding something. This station isn't for communication. It's for command." Bram nodded. "Then let's say hello." As the Valiant approached, the hidden station powered up. Defense. Turrets emerged from its surface. Dozens of small drones flew out, ready to intercept, but Bram didn't hesitate. He gave a single command: sweep them. The Valiant's side cannons activated. Precise, brutal. Within seconds, the drones were gone, turned to space dust. The station responded by launching signal jammers and scrambling codes. But the Valiant's AI was faster. It broke through the firewalls like paper. Systems breached, the AI confirmed. We are in. Inside the station, alarms blared. A shadowy figure rushed into the control room. They found us, he shouted. Others panicked. Impossible. That ship was supposed to be destroyed. The envoy failed, someone growled. One voice, older and colder than the rest, cut through the panic. Then we finish it ourselves. A hand slammed down on a console. A silent message was sent from the far side of the station. A small black ship detached, sleek, fast, and invisible to most scanners. The Silence-class interceptor. Its mission: kill everyone on board the Valiant. Back on the human warship, Bram was scanning station records when the AI gave a warning: unknown vessel approaching. Stealth class. No ID. Armed. Leah's eyes widened. Assassin ship. Bram didn't answer. He was already moving. Brace for contact. They are coming in fast. The Valiant turned just in time. A beam of red light shot past the hull, missing. By inches, the assassin ship circled back, preparing for another strike. The duel began fast. Silent. Deadly. The interceptor moved like a ghost. No sound, no trails. Just deadly precision. But the Valiant wasn't built to dodge. It was built to survive. Bram spun the warship around, activating secondary turrets. Predict its path, he ordered. The AI worked quickly, tracing micro-movements. Calculating, firing. Solution ready. The next time the black ship approached, Bram waited, then fired. A spread of ion rounds burst from the Valiant's belly. The interceptor took one direct hit. It wobbled, its cloak failed. Bram didn't wait. Finish it. A blue-white bolt launched. From the Valiant's spine, the interceptor exploded in a silent ball of fire. One problem gone, but the bigger one was still ahead. Inside the relay station, the Council agents knew it was over. One turned toward a sealed vault. Destroy the data. All of it. But before he could reach the panel, the walls trembled. The Valiant had docked, and the Terran was coming. Bram stepped off the ship, armored in dark metal. Leah followed close. Behind, her weapon ready, the corridors of the station were dim, full of smoke and sparks. The defenders tried to fight, they failed. Every hallway they crossed brought them closer to the truth. At the core of the station, they found it. A chamber full of records, documents, files, secrets. Leah stared. This is it. The AI sent drones in to copy everything: names, locations, evidence. The Council's betrayal was no longer a rumor. It was fact. Bram stood silently in the center of the room. He looked at a single data file, marked with the Valiant's name. He opened it and read one sentence: destroy the ship before Earth remembers what it truly is. His jaw tightened. They're afraid, he said. Leah looked at him. Of what? He looked out the window, back toward the stars. Of us. Asterisk. The Valiant left the dark relay station behind, its memory banks now filled with secrets the galaxy was never meant to know. Inside the warship, Bram stood in front of the command screen. Around him floated thousands of files copied from the hidden Council station: plans, betrayals, lies. He read one after another, and the pattern became clear. The Council had feared Earth's strength for generations. Peace treaties were just delays. Diplomacy was a curtain. Behind it, they had built fleets, trained armies, and prepared for the day when humanity might rise again. Leah watched his face grow darker. They always said humans were dangerous, she whispered. Now I know why. Bram didn't speak. He simply pointed at a set of coordinates on the screen. A gathering point. Deep in Council space. The center of their secret operations. We strike there, he said. Back on Earth, the High Commanders finally received fragments of the battle report from Outpost 47. Glitchy images of the Valiant tearing through fleets. One Terran warship, alone. Some were silent. Some stood. One of the admirals clenched his jaw. It woke up, he said softly. Another nodded. And it remembered. In the core of the galaxy, the Council scrambled, their private channels were full of chaos. The hidden relay was gone. The assassin failed. The Terran warship was still alive and moving. One senior counselor, an old figure cloaked in blue light, spoke clearly, no more hiding. If the galaxy learns what we did, we silence it, another snapped. Destroy the Valiant before it reaches the core. And if we can't, someone asked. The room fell quiet, because deep down, they already knew, they were too late. As the Valiant neared the gathering point, Bram stood quietly in the war room. The ship's AI showed the layout. Dozens of capital ships. Defense platforms. Orbital mines. A fortress, Leah stared. We can't face that alone. We're not, Bram said. He reached for the comms. I'm sending a signal. To who? She asked. To the ones who still remember what Earth stood for. Moments later, across deep space, old channels buzzed to life, ships in hidden ports. Retired war veterans. Cold storage stations. The signal reached them all. A voice, this is the Valiant. The Council betrayed Earth. If you can hear this, we need you. We don't need soldiers. We need believers. Then silence. For a time, nothing happened. Then one by one, signals blinked on, responding. We've waited for this. Long live Earth. Back at the gathering point, Council forces tightened formation. Warships moved into position. They had no idea what was coming until the Valiant arrived, not alone, but leading a fleet of ghosts, old Terran destroyers, smugglers, retired command carriers. Even mining ships turned into war hulks. It wasn't a navy. It was a rebellion. The battle began with fire. The Valiant hit first, cutting through the forward defense grid like paper. Behind it, the Resistance fleet followed, raw, underpowered, but furious. The Council warships fired back hard. Precision beams and nuclear blasts tore into the Resistance line, but Earth's fleet didn't fall back. They pushed in harder, closer. Every loss was answered with 3 kills, and at the front of it all, the Valiant glowed like a falling star, unstoppable. Leah watched from the bridge, heart pounding. We can't hold this forever. Bram grinned. We don't have to. He tapped the screen. A countdown began. He had armed the Valiant's last weapon, a core-burst warhead. Ancient. Illegal. One of a kind. He spoke into the fleet channel, clear the center. Let them come to me. The Council commanders saw the shift. They thought it was retreat. They charged, and Bram waited until they were close enough. He whispered, for Earth. And launched the warhead. The explosion didn't echo, but its light spread for millions of kilometers. Half the Council's core fleet vanished in a single moment. The others turned to run, but they were already surrounded by humans who had waited too long and forgiven too much. Smoke and broken metal drifted through the stars. The Council's fleet was gone, burned, scattered, erased. Their command station was silent. Their defenses had failed. No one expected it. No one believed one Terran warship would turn the tide, but the galaxy now understood the truth. The Valiant had returned, and none survived it. On the deck of the warship, Bram stood still, watching the battlefield fade to glowing embers. Behind him, Leah sat at the communications console. Dozens of messages poured in from across the stars. Some were calls for peace. Others were warnings. But most were something else. Hope. Listen to this, she said, playing one of the messages. A voice spoke. We saw it. We saw what Earth did. And we remember. We remember the ones who don't run. Another message followed. You're not alone anymore. The Valiant's AI broken, enemy fleet destroyed. Threat eliminated. Bram didn't speak for a while. He watched the stars through the glass. They forced us into the dark, he said quietly. They thought we'd forget what we were. Leah nodded. But we didn't. You didn't. He turned to her. Earth will need to decide what comes next. What about you? She asked. He looked at the floor, then out into space. I was meant to die in this ship. That's what I trained for. One last mission. One final strike. But you lived. Bram smiled faintly. That was their mistake. For across the stars, in council chambers, chaos unfolded. One faction wanted to sue for peace. Another demanded retaliation, but there was a third group, silent, thoughtful. One elder, dressed in grey, finally spoke. No more ships. No more armies. Not for now. Earth has reminded us who they are. He looked around the chamber. If we push again, they won't just destroy our fleets. They'll bring their people. And that would be the end. Meanwhile, Earth itself received the full transmission from the Valiant. The leaders of the planet, old and young, listened carefully. They watched footage of 100,000 enemy warriors falling to one ship. They saw the betrayal exposed, the secrets unveiled, the fire reignited. Point one general whispered, "It's time to return." Back on the Valiant, Leah joined Bram at the observation window. "We changed something today," she said. "No," he corrected her. "We reminded them." She looked at him with curiosity. "What now?" He turned toward the stars. "We finish what they started. We find the others. The old ships. The old crews. Earth will rise, not with fear, but with truth." In the days that followed, messages flooded in from across the galaxy, outposts requesting protection, small worlds asking to join Earth, old captains volunteering their hidden ships. The Valiant had become more than a ship. It had become a symbol. Weeks later, near the edge of Terran space, a small fleet gathered. Not large, not advanced, but determined. At the front, the Valiant stood, its hull repaired, its lights burning brighter than ever. Inside, Bram stood at the helm. The crew, new and old, waited for orders. He looked at Leah, nodded once, and gave the command, "Engage. Jump drive." The stars bent, shimmered, and then exploded into motion. The Terran fleet moved forward, not to conquer, but to never be forgotten again. Asterisk.